All right. I'll start with thanking everybody in Oman for hosting this event. It's a pleasure to be back here in the region and in Oman. I've had the chance and opportunities to travel a few times here as we partner with a number of local companies as Google. And so this morning, since I am the last person standing between you and coffee break, hopefully I'm going to give a small talk to enable everybody in the room to take most advantage of the said coffee break. So, but this morning I'll be speaking as myself, not as Google. I do have one Google slide at the end to start the peering introductions, but those slides are strictly mine. I'll be speaking a little bit about peering in general, which is internet interconnections, and how they help shape the internet as it is and are also the outcome of many of the trends that we have discussed today. I think we had an update from RIPE explaining the number of individual networks on the internet growing. We also see players like Omantel building global networks to be able to connect all around the world. All of these trends, more interconnect locations by various players as well as more individual players, means an exploding number of interconnections. And so clearly there's an opportunity for everybody in this room who operates a network to take advantage of that and build more interconnections. So taking a step back on the principles behind internet interconnections and peering, I think it's worthwhile reminding that peering very vastly around the world is completely informal, unregulated, and usually outside of contracts. It's typically a technical arrangement that is being done at a handshake, without any lawyer fees involved. I have a stat there that says 99.5% of all internet peering arrangements are completely informal. This from the Packet Clearinghouse study of 2011. I believe we will get an update on this number later today. I don't think it has changed much. From my experience, this is the accurate number, even though Google does not on it. So that the fact that peering is unregulated, doesn't have termination rates, doesn't have contracts, makes it extremely efficient as a means to manage interconnections. If we compare internet peering, for instance, with the transportation of voice minutes around the world, the cost per bit actually was computed to be 100,000 times more efficient on the internet than on voice, which means that if you use a legacy system of sender party pays on voice and have to negotiate termination rates, have to regulate them, and so on and so forth, it creates so much overhead on interconnect that you end up with a cost of transporting bits that is 100,000 times more expensive. So I think this is something we want to keep in mind all through this week while we discuss about peering, about opening up markets, that those really have tangible outcomes on the cost of transporting bits and the value of the internet for its members. Very quickly, I'll go over some of the actual benefits of peering, and mostly I will give this audience a call to action to register on what has been oftentimes referred to as the Facebook of peering, which is peeringdb.com. This is the if there's one takeaway from this presentation, is go and register on that website. Maybe taking a step back. We saw on the previous slide actually that internet peering was in itself, and by the virtue of it being unregulated, very efficient as a means to transport bits. For individual networks and for individuals, it has also making bilateral interconnections, known as peering, also has I would say technical and business virtues. Technically, you cut the middleman. When two networks interconnect, you remove any sorts of fabric in the middle, whether it is a transit provider, a distributed transport network, or and so on and so forth. So two networks interconnecting together means remove the middleman, which has speed implications, performance implications. Usually it's more reliable and more manageable because you just have to monitor one link. So in general, this is a trend that has taken place all over the world, which is after a certain scale, two networks have a mutual interest in interconnecting. I think this region in the Gulf especially is still we're still not quite there yet in terms of having local interconnects, either in each countries or either across the region. I think there's a certain number of reasons behind it. It could be cost, it could be regulatory barriers or licensing issues. We will probably touch on those this afternoon. But in general, the principle behind internet interconnections is just cutting the middleman, which, if you think about it, in most businesses just makes sense in itself. In this room and in forums such as this MENOG or other NOGs around the world, you will find people involved in many different organizations that have an interest in peering. Depending on the size and the nature of the organization, it could be a lot of different people managing interconnections. If your business is to sell internet transport, you could be a product manager and managing peering. Work internet service provider, you could be the CTO and be interested in peering. If you're internet content organization, you could have a peering job just dedicated to managing peering. You could be a salesperson selling peering in some cases. That's usually quite rare, but that could happen, and so on and so forth. So internet, I think that has been said earlier today, is very vast and diverse, and as a consequence, the people involved in making internet interconnections arrangement are also very diverse. Prerequisite to setting up interconnects are very little. Usually it just means registering with RIPE and obtaining your individual AS number, autonomous system number. This is agnostic whether it's IPv4 or IPv6. The same notions apply essentially. And what's required, I think I was alluding to that earlier, is well, actually it's not required, but it's strongly recommended, I would say, is to register on the peering database, peeringdb.com. That's where you will find each individual network on the internet, as well as each facilities in which they would connect. The value of this information is that if you want to connect to a given number, to a given network, you probably want to know where they are available to connect. So we had a presentation from Omantel earlier today that said, oh, we're building a point of presence in Marseille, in Frankfurt, in Ashburn, and whatnot. Unless you're sitting in this room and you're watching this very presentation, you have no way of knowing this. And so the big value of being a member of that website and being able to register your own information and access the other informations is really because it gives you all that knowledge about where to peer. And then finally, to be able to peer with another network, you need to have some level of adjacency with it, meaning some means to actually connect at layer 1 or layer 2 level. So either you share a fiber together, or you're connected to the same internet exchange, or you are collocated in the same data center. All that's required is really that an adjacency and being registered on the right tools, and then you can start peering. And I believe, at least my hope is that in this forum you will be able to achieve all that. You will be able to get your AS number, maybe not overnight, but get in touch with the right people to do it. Registering on PeeringDB is very fast, and then you have a number of vendors or partners in this room who can talk about internet exchanges, colocation facilities, to be able to physically build those peerings. Now, very quickly, how this can play out in a meeting such as MENOG is really when you decide to attend this very conference. If you, as I said, if you own or run a network, probably it will be valuable for you to peer. And so you will want to define this ahead of the meeting, hopefully, to decide who you want to peer with. Set up a meeting with that individual or organization. Use this meeting to convince the other party to peer, and then finally set up the peering and enjoy. And then, yeah, finally set up the meeting and enjoy. That last part is actually very quick. Again, principle behind peering is cutting the middleman. You can look at it from an economical perspective as a make or buy kind of story. If you have very little traffic with a given network in Chile, probably you don't want to build a big link all over the world just to peer with them. However, if you have a lot of traffic with one big party or one big neighbor, then it makes sense to build this local interconnect. So really what's going to be driving your peering strategy or your peering goals is going to be who you exchange traffic with, how close are they, how costly it is to connect with them, how much traffic you have, what are the requirements for this kind of traffic. Is it very latency sensitive? Is it very congestion sensitive? Do you need big pipes for video? Or do you need fast pipes for some kind of a voice application or electronic trading material? If you're an enterprise, a bank, or an education network, you might want to know who your IT vendors are. Are you getting your work applications from Microsoft, from Google maybe, and you want to connect specifically with those networks? Are you trading with that central bank or that trading platform, and do you need to connect to that network, and so on and so forth. So look at your network, figure out who are your most important adjacencies, and then establish your peering strategies from there on. If I take the example of Google, for instance, we carry a lot of different applications on our network. Obviously, some would be latency sensitive, some would be requiring a lot of big pipes, for instance, and we are available pretty much everywhere for everybody. And so, as a consequence, our peering strategy is very simple. We want to peer with everyone, and this is how we build a network and have an open peering policy. Obviously, each organization have different goals, and so having an open peering policy with everybody and building POPs everywhere, it may not be the right strategy for everyone. So this is just restating what I've said. So now, imagine you go into MENOG and you have an objective of meeting someone. Say you find that you have a big adjacency with Bahrain, for example. You have a lot of traffic exchange with Bahrain. I think we have some people from Bahrain in the room, so sorry if I'm picking up on this one network. So you have a lot of traffic exchange with Bahrain. An important network in Bahrain is Batelco, AS5416. So you're going to be looking them up on PeeringDB, aka the Facebook of peering again. So turns out that if I log on PeeringDB, or actually you don't even need to log, you can just search the website without logging in. I'm going to look for Bahrain Telecom or Batelco. I will actually find their AS number. So in the case I don't have it, I can find it there. And now I'm going to be looking at, okay, where can I connect with this network? And this is where I will have a little bit of a problem, because it looks like our friends at Batelco did not fill up their PeeringDB record, and as a consequence, it's impossible to know where they peer. No public exchange listed, no private peering facilities listed. I believe this is an oversight on Batelco's part, because I I believe that they do peer in some places. So this is maybe a reminder for everybody that, oh, maybe you have a potential business partner or peering partner that wants to get in touch with you, but has no way of finding you because the peering DB record is out of date. So there would be a recommendation there. I do want to give a shout out to Omantel, who presented earlier, that does have a very up-to-date peering DB record, but obviously it would be no fun to show it here because there would be no call to action. Now, all right, so I'm continuing this scenario. I want to meet Bahrain, I want to meet Batelco. I have no idea where they peer, but it seems that there will be delegates in MENOG. So on the MENOG website, you have an attendees list. You can look up whoever is attending the conference. There's a full list there. I'm in there. All the attendees registered are there. And if you look for Batelco and Bahrain, you can find actually an attendee. So, oh, that's great. That's probably someone you will want to meet to discuss those interconnection arrangements and probably figure out, okay, why is the peering record out of date? Where exactly is peering convenient for that network? And then finally, you have that meeting. Hopefully the next couple of days will be full of such meetings between various parties. I know that's why I am here, to be able to meet on behalf of Google with all the different parties. I think in this region more than anywhere, relationships are very important in business. It's important to be able to show your face, to know people personally, and show them that you care. So having this meeting is the best way of doing this. You can have it in the hallway, in the coffee break, over lunch, at night. You can have tea together. All of those I would say are fair game and fairly common. And then finally, during that meeting, you will want to negotiate the terms of your peering arrangements. As I said, most of them are informal. Of course, there is an element of negotiation to it. If your two networks co-located in exactly the same building, it's very straightforward. All you need to do is a single fiber cross-connect. But if you're across an ocean, for instance, there will be some discussion. I am a European network, you are a Bahrain network. Where should we interconnect? In Bahrain? In Europe? Which one is cheaper? Who has the most interest in this that they want to compromise on the location? So all of those will be the topics of your peering discussions. And there's not one way to summarize it. I guess the answer is that at the end of the day, people vote with their feet, and so if a peering arrangement is not mutually beneficial, it usually doesn't happen. It's very, I would say, it's very uncommon that unbeneficial peering arrangements happen, if only for the reason that you always have the option of just using IP transit to deliver bits. Even a network as large as Omantel, for instance, that presented earlier, that builds POP all around the world, has 30% of their traffic on IP transit. So as you can see, there will always be this I would say default route to the rest of the internet. And then finally, once you've negotiated all these terms, locations, and so on and so forth, you can set up peering. That's really the easy part. Once you've established the physical connections between your two networks, it's really just about configuring a router. So I just included some sample command lines for this. Again, the technical setup is usually not the most complicated part. And it's pretty straightforward. Now, if I conclude this part of the talk, really, as any individual or any individual company on the internet, it is probably beneficial for you to have some form of peering arrangements with some parties. Those forums, such as MENOGs, are really good ways to make those interconnections happen. And what I hope to have proposed you is a way of making them happen. Define your objectives, set up meetings, discuss peering, set it up, and then finally enjoy the improved performance or cost or whatever your objective was in the first place. Now, I believe we still have 1 minute before the coffee break. So before coffee break, traditionally in MENOG events, it is customary to introduce your network to potential peering partners. So this is what I'm going to start by doing, and then I will invite anybody from the floor to do the same. So I am Google, sometimes known on the internet as YouTube because there's a lot of video traffic and bits all over the internet. I have 3 main AS numbers that are listed here. I'm not going to read them out loud because it would be very fastidious. We have an open peering policy, and we are happy to peer with everybody in the world. We peer in most major peering locations around the world and in the region as well. Thomas Volmer, I'm your main contact for discussing peering, and we also have online listed those here. I think the presentation is available on the website, so you can just click on it there. Otherwise, the URL should be fairly straightforward to remember. I want peering or I want GGC. Please, meet me during the coffee break later today, tonight, and we can discuss those peering arrangements. Thank you.